The trailer that just changed everything fans of The Chosen thought they were prepared for has finally arrived, and it is more devastating than even the most devoted viewers imagined possible. 6 seasons have been building to this single day. Every quiet conversation between Jesus and his disciples, every miraculous healing, every tender moment with Mary Magdalene, every tortured exchange with Judas, all of it has been pointed at one inevitable destination. And now the trailer for Season 6 makes that destination undeniable and unbearable to witness. Will Peter survive the weight of what denial is about to cost him? Will Judas find any path forward after what his betrayal has set in motion? Or does that figure walking toward a tree with a noose confirm the worst? Will Mary, the mother of Jesus, be able to endure watching her son suffer what no mother should ever have to see? How does Mary Magdalene, the woman Jesus called out of darkness in the very first episode, hold herself together at the foot of a cross? And what does Jonathan Rumi's portrayal of surrender and sacrifice do to 6 seasons of emotional investment that fans have placed in this man? Every single one of those questions has an answer, and this breakdown covers all of them. The single most important moment in this trailer is the one that opens it, and it is genuinely one of the most heartbreaking images in the entire history of this series. Jesus is on the ground, bloodied out, wearing a crown of thorns, and his mother Mary cradles his face in her hands and whispers through tears, "My boy, my heart." That is all she says, and the camera holds on both of them for a moment that feels absolutely timeless and completely private, as though the audience has stumbled into something sacred that was never meant to be witnessed. The weight of those 4 words, spoken by Vanessa Benavente in what appears to be her finest performance in the entire run of the show, lands with a force that is truly shocking, because fans have watched this mother for 6 seasons. They watched her in Season 1 when Jesus was just beginning his ministry. They watched her at moments of pride and confusion and fear. And now they are watching her in the worst moment of her life. And the trailer makes clear that this season is going to follow her through every agonizing hour of it. There is something genuinely terrifying about the intimacy of that scene. It is not epic. It is not cinematic in the traditional sense. It is just a mother and her son, and 4 words that break everything open. However, the situation is far more complicated and far more painful than even that opening moment suggests. Because the trailer does not stay in that quiet space. It cuts immediately to something completely unexpected in its brutality. A Roman soldier lifting a whip with metal-tipped leather thongs. Another soldier twisting branches into a crown of thorns. The sound of a hammer driving nails into wood. The show has always depicted the human cost of following Jesus, but it has never before shown the human cost of being Jesus. Dallas Jenkins himself confirmed this in a statement ahead of the trailer's release. The season is not family-friendly, because the crucifixion was not family-friendly, and the show would not be doing the story justice if it tried to sanitize what happened. That commitment to authenticity is incredibly powerful, and it is also why this trailer leaves viewers genuinely shaken in a way that no previous season's footage has managed. The most likely explanation for why this trailer hit so hard, so immediately, is rooted in something specific about the way The Chosen has constructed its emotional architecture over 6 years. Other depictions of the Passion, including Mel Gibson's landmark 2004 film, portray a Jesus the audience meets in crisis. The Chosen has spent 5 full seasons making fans fall in love with this man. Fans watched him laugh with Matthew. They watched him cry with Mary Magdalene. They watched him sit with the woman at the well and look at her with absolute compassion. Jonathan Rumi has spoken about the filming of the crucifixion sequences in Matera, Italy, where the cast and crew spent 3 weeks capturing these scenes, and what he said is extraordinary. In his own words, he described sharing even just a percentage, a micron of a percentage, of the Lord's passion, and said the experience left him absolutely humbled and moved, so much so that for months afterward he would become emotional simply attending Mass. That is not an actor talking about a performance. That is a human being describing a transformation. And when fans watch those scenes on screen in November, they will be watching someone who was genuinely changed by what he went through. The evidence strongly suggests that what Rumi delivers in Season 6 will not look like acting. It will look like witness. However, unfortunately, the theory that this season will be purely about Jesus' suffering misses something critical that the trailer quietly plants in the background, something that every attentive fan will have noticed, and that changes the entire emotional landscape of Episode 1. The disciples are shown scattered, confused, walking in grief away from the Garden of Gethsemane. Dallas Jenkins himself revealed a clip from Episode 1 that shows 9 of the disciples arguing with each other as they walk, arguing about whether Jesus knew Judas was going to betray him, whether they could have prevented the arrest, what they are supposed to do now. The evidence is clear in both the trailer and the pre-released clip. Episode 1 is not only Jesus' story, it is the story of 11 men whose entire world has just collapsed in a single night, and who have absolutely no framework for understanding what they just witnessed. Matthew, in characteristic fashion, deals with the chaos by reciting the Beatitudes. Big James tells the group to stay together, and Mary Magdalene, who is not with them, is shown separately with 6 of Jesus' female followers, trying to piece together where Jesus has been taken, because no one thought to tell the women anything. That detail, the women finding out secondhand through fragments of information passed between frightened disciples, is the kind of human texture that makes The Chosen something the gospel accounts cannot be. And the trailer makes clear that Season 6 will lean into that texture completely. And if this theory proves correct, that Episode 1 is structured around the simultaneous collapse of multiple communities of faith, then the consequences for Peter are enormous. Because Peter is not with those 9 disciples walking to Bethany. Peter is following Jesus to Jerusalem. Peter is the one who is about to stand in a courtyard and deny knowing the man he has followed for years, 3 times before dawn. The trailer offers glimpses of the disciples in collective grief, but Peter's grief will be singular and private and absolutely devastating, because he will be the only one who has to live with what he said in that courtyard. Fans have watched Shahar Isaac build Peter into one of the most complex and beloved characters in the show's history, the man whose impulsiveness and love and failure and courage have mirrored the experience of practically every viewer who has ever tried and fallen short. The most logical conclusion, given everything the production has confirmed about the emotional scope of Season 6, is that Peter's denial sequence will be the single hardest scene for longtime fans to watch. Not the crucifixion, not Judas. Peter. Because Peter tried and failed and had to keep living. But that development raises an even more dangerous question about Judas, and the trailer does not shy away from it. Luke Dimion appears in brief, devastating flashes throughout the teaser. Judas is shown screaming in despair, and then, at the end of the trailer, a figure is seen walking through a field carrying a noose toward a tree. The show is not being subtle about where Judas's arc is headed, and the most important thing fans need to understand about how The Chosen has built toward this moment is that it has spent multiple seasons making Judas comprehensible. This was not a cartoon villain. This was a man whose theology collided with reality in a way he could not survive. Fans believe, based on everything Dallas Jenkins has said about the series' commitment to humanizing all of its characters, that the show's depiction of Judas's final hours will be unlike anything previously seen in mainstream Christian media. Not a quick cut to 30 pieces of silver and a hanging, but a full, agonizing portrait of a man who understood too late what he had done. The evidence in the trailer, Judas watching silently as guards lead Jesus away, the look on his face in the moment after the betrayal, strongly suggests that what is coming is a tragedy within a tragedy, and that fans who have watched Damien's performance over the years are not ready for what Season 6 asks of him. However, unfortunately, the character whose arc deserves far more attention than the trailer gives her, and who represents the most emotionally significant secondary storyline in all of Season 6, is Mary Magdalene. While the main conflict of the season is centered on Jesus' trial, suffering, and crucifixion, there is another storyline quietly unfolding in the background that every fan needs to pay close attention to, and it belongs entirely to Elizabeth Tabish. Mary Magdalene's presence at the foot of the cross is one of the most theologically significant details in all Gospel accounts. She does not run, she does not hide, she does not scatter the way the male disciples do. She stays, and in the world The Chosen has built, that choice carries 6 seasons of character development behind it. Fans first met Mary Magdalene in Season 1 in her darkest moment, possessed and desperate and nameless to everyone around her, except Jesus, who called her by name and gave her back her life. Every season since has been, in part, the story of what she does with that gift. Season 6, according to everything the production has confirmed, follows her to the foot of the cross, and one theory gaining significant traction among fans is that the show will use Mary Magdalene's perspective as the primary emotional anchor for viewers in the crucifixion sequences, because her presence there is historically confirmed, while many of the disciples' whereabouts are not. The consequence of this theory, if it proves correct, is that Elizabeth Tabish's performance in these episodes may be the most important performance in the history of the show, the witness who sees everything and survives to carry it forward into Season 7, where the resurrection awaits. Fans who care about Mary Magdalene's arc know that Season 7 begins where Season 6 ends, at the tomb, and the emotional payoff of watching this woman go from Season 1's darkest night to Easter morning is something the show has been building toward since its very first scene. After everything this trailer has revealed, the horror of the crown of thorns, the silence of that mother and son moment, the disciples arguing in the dark, Judas walking toward a tree. After all of the theories and all of the questions this footage raises, the one question that every single fan is now focused on is the simplest and most important of all. When does this actually air? The answer is confirmed and official. The Chosen Season 6 premieres on Prime Video on November 15th, 2026, with the first 3 episodes dropping simultaneously. After that, new episodes will roll out weekly through December 6th. Then, in a move that is genuinely unprecedented for this series, the season finale, the Crucifixion itself, will be released as a standalone theatrical film on March 12th, 2027 through Amazon MGM Studios. That theatrical release is not a bonus feature. Dallas Jenkins has been explicit that the finale is the centerpiece of the entire season, and that everything in the 6 streaming episodes is building toward what happens on that screen in cinemas around the world in spring 2027. For context, filming for Season 6 ran for 86 days, the longest shoot in the show's entire history, across Texas, Utah, and Matera, Italy. Filming for Season 7, which will cover the resurrection and lead into the early events of Acts, has already begun as of April 2026. Based on everything the production timeline has confirmed so far, the wait is going to be significantly shorter than most fans are expecting. And based on what this trailer has shown, that wait is going to feel very long indeed. Now the conversation moves to the fans. 3 questions are tearing